Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something genuinely fascinating. We so often look to the latest apps, modern psychology, or trending self-help books to find a little peace of mind, but what if the absolute most potent formula for mental clarity was actually written centuries ago? Well, today, we're diving into the HEART SUTRA. It's an ancient Buddhist text that promises to free us from suffering simply by shifting exactly how we perceive reality.
The sheer scale of compression here is just mind-blowing. Consider the Dhyana Sutra, which is this massive, incredibly dense collection of Buddhist teachings spanning a staggering 600 volumes. Imagine trying to just carry that around, let alone read and actually internalize all of it. But then we have the HEART Sutra. It distills the absolute essence of those 600 massive volumes into an incredibly efficient package of under 300 characters. Think about that for a second. It is literally the ultimate executive summary. In a single brief chant, it delivers the core wisdom that everything in this world is empty, and that by simply letting go of our attachments, we can completely free ourselves from mental suffering. But to understand how that actually works, we first have to figure out what this text means by the word empty.
So let's jump right into part 1, the concept of emptiness, and decode this core philosophy. To really unlock this text, we need to deconstruct its most famously difficult concept, which acts as the master key to mental liberation. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is that emptiness, or ku as it's known in the text, doesn't mean nothingness or some giant dark void. Instead, the text contrasts ku with shiki. Shiki basically represents all the visible, tangible things in our universe. Your body, the device you're watching this on, the coffee cup on your desk, these are all shiki. Ku, on the other hand, means lacking permanent substance. It means that literally everything, from our physical bodies all the way down to our DNA, is made of temporary elements that are constantly interacting and changing. Our bodies? They're really just a temporary gathering of the food we eat, the air we breathe, and the genetics passed down to us. Nothing exists entirely on its own, and absolutely nothing stays exactly the same forever.
And there's a brilliant way to illustrate this concept of emptiness, and it's by looking at a cloud. Think about how a cloud actually forms. It isn't a solid, permanent object, right? It only exists because water vapor just happens to gather in a certain way at a certain time. From the ground, it looks totally solid, but it has zero fixed form. The second the wind blows or the temperature drops, it shifts, and eventually it turns into rain and disappears from the sky completely. It's 100% dependent on its environment. The HEART Sutra is basically telling us that you, me, and everything we interact with are exactly like this cloud. We are beautiful, we are very real in the moment, but ultimately we are transient and formless.
Which brings us to part 2, the root of suffering, and exactly why we experience anxiety and stress.
Forgetting this cloud-like nature of reality is exactly what causes our mental suffering. And this is where the ancient wisdom gets incredibly practical for our everyday lives. The sutra points out that we suffer because we rigidly cling to temporary, ever-changing things as if they're going to last forever. We chase money, we build our entire identity around social status, we desperately try to hold on to our youth, or we just expect other people's feelings toward us to never, ever change. Basically, we treat clouds like they are made of solid concrete. And when those things inevitably shift or fade, because, as we know, they are empty and lack permanent substance, we experience profound anxiety, anger, and sadness. But realizing that all of these things are temporary, that immediately lightens our mental load. If everything is just a passing cloud, there's really no reason to grip it so tightly.
Moving on to part 3, the sutra's 4-part story. Let's do a quick chronological walkthrough of the text. Now that we have our decoder ring for emptiness, let's walk step by step through the actual narrative of this incredibly concise text. Because it's not just a list of rules, it actually tells a story. The text reads almost like a micro-hero's journey. It starts with the Buddha figure Kannon in deep meditation. Kannon has this sudden, profound, light-bulb moment that everything in the world is empty, and in that very instant is completely freed from all suffering. Second, Kannon passes this groundbreaking wisdom down to a top-tier disciple named Shariputra, explaining that form is emptiness and emptiness is form. Third, we move through this phase where the text systematically strips away all of our attachments to achieve a truly empty state of mind. And finally, having completely cleared the mind of all fear and anxiety, it wraps up with a powerful, celebratory chant. Let's actually look a bit closer at that fascinating third step.
So in the third part, the sutra rapidly fires off these nothing statements. It says things like, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no mind, no suffering, no wisdom, no attainment. It feels almost overwhelming, doesn't it? Like, what is actually happening here? Well, the text is aggressively decluttering our minds. It's forcing us to hit the giant reset button on all of our stubborn, fixed ideas. It targets our senses, our common sense, and even the very idea of wisdom itself. It's basically saying, forget everything you think you own. Forget what you think is absolutely right. By relentlessly repeating the word no, the sutra acts like a mental palate cleanser, completely wiping away our biases and leaving us totally open and free.
And that sets the stage for part 4, the final magic spell, the true climax of the Heart Sutra.
Once our minds are totally decluttered, wiped completely clean of anxiety, and free of the fear of losing things, the sutra culminates in this magnificent mystical finale. It leaves us with these untranslated ancient Sanskrit sounds, represented in kanji characters. It goes, gate gate, hara sogyate, boji soka. Now, because the original Sanskrit words were brought over purely as phonetic sounds rather than being translated into local meanings, they maintain this incredibly solemn and mysterious aura. For centuries, people have chanted these exact syllables, feeling the profound, heavy spiritual weight behind them, even if they had absolutely no idea what the literal meaning of the words was.
But underneath that mysterious, solemn surface, the actual translation reveals something so incredibly uplifting. It translates to, let's go, everyone to the ideal shore. Let's arrive together. Glorious wisdom, hail. It is just a wonderfully warm, encouraging push. You see, the ideal shore is a metaphor for a state of mind that's totally free from suffering. After breaking down our entire reality and telling us everything is empty, the Heart Sutra doesn't just leave us floating in a dark void. Instead, it invites us all to relax our shoulders, stop taking our temporary problems so seriously, and walk together toward a stress-free world. It is quite literally the ultimate message of communal encouragement.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want you to take a look at your own life and ask yourself, what is one rigid attachment that you can let go of today to help you reach that ideal shore? Think back to that cloud we talked about earlier. What in your life are you currently treating as permanent, solid concrete when it's really just a passing cloud? Maybe it's a super stressful project at work, a conflict you're having with a friend, or even just an unrealistic expectation you have for yourself. Whatever it is, remember the Heart Sutra's promise. Recognizing that it is temporary is the very first step to letting it go. Let's go together to that ideal shore. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.